What's up? We're back. AG Sports. Guys, we have week number one in the books. For the most part, we have a Monday night game coming up. But I want to recap our picks from last week, how we're doing, where we're at, how many units we're up or down, and all that kind of stuff. So, first of all, let's get into the picks from last week. It was a great week. Not necessarily for our bets. I mean, it was, but just great to get back into NFL. Great to have the season back. Being able to watch actual football that matters and not college football. It was freaking great. So first, we're gonna go over the misses. Then we'll go over the hits, and then we'll take kind of a recap of where we're at on the year, and then what picks we have coming up for tonight as well as for next week. Let's get started. The games that we missed, first of all, because it is very important to go back, find out what you got wrong, and self-evaluate. You want to make sure that if you are really bad at something, you don't keep fucking it up. So let's stick with that. Let's go with what we got wrong first of all. So Patriots -2.5 versus the Dolphins. That was the play. We got that one wrong. That one was not a total lopsided game. That wasn't like, oh my god, we were on the total wrong side of this one from the kickoff. That was a relatively close game. The Dolphins did control it for the most part from start to finish, but it was not like the Patriots were down 20 points at any point in that game. I really thought Bill was going to have a better way of slowing down Tua, but I don't think Tua was necessarily a problem. I think it was really more so that the Patriots were so conservative. They were really just trying to run and run and run some more. They had some fumbles that just did not go their way. Damian Harris fumbled in the red zone, which really capped off the day, because had he gone either in for the touchdown, which would have been awesome, but had he just kept possession and allowed them to eventually get that touchdown, they win most likely, and we cover. But that's not how it worked out. So got the loss there. Really important thing to learn there is that the Dolphins have a good offense, and their defense is good enough to slow down other offenses that are conservative. Next thing that we did get wrong was the Jaguars Texans under 45.5, and this kind of messed us up for a few reasons. One, it was a solitary pick, but two, it was also on the round robin, so we got that one wrong. Now, what I will say about this is that the Texans defense, I did expect them to be good, and they were, so not really a problem there. But the Jaguars defense, my God, it was awful. I didn't think they were good. I thought they were going to be below average, but I mean, they just could not stop anything. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. When you have a defense that's just allowing anything and the offense can do whatever it wants and it's going to be successful, we have a problem, and especially with the under. So the Jaguars, while I know a lot of people are very high with new quarterback, new coach, and all that kind of stuff on the team, I don't think they're going anywhere. Obviously, they're not making the playoffs. I don't think anybody had that picked. But I don't think they're even going to be much better than last year. Not to say that there aren't certain spots that are better, but with a defense that bad and an offense that's going to struggle to put points on the board, that's not a team that you want to look to back at all. What I think is going to be the problem with them as far as betting is concerned is that their lines are going to get so inflated that at some point there is going to be value. So at some point I expect it to be like Jags plus 17 or Jags plus 20. And those are really scary lines because it's hard to lay 17 points with the other team. But it's also one of my rules is to not bet a dog that I don't think can win. If I'm betting a dog, it's because I think there's a legit shot that they could pull off an upset, and that just isn't the case for the Jaguars for the most part. So they go over the total, and obviously the Jaguars lose. But more importantly for us, they went over the total because the Jaguars' defense was just that bad, where the Texans were able to do whatever they wanted. The last loss that we had, and this was only for half a unit, was the Packers at the Saints. Now, luckily it was for only a half a unit. But as far as handicapping this game, man, I could just not have been more wrong on this one. The Saints had so many things going against them. Jameis Winston, the last time we saw him, was a turnover machine. And there was just nothing really on paper that shouted that this team is a good team other than maybe the coach. The Packers, on the other hand, returned for the most part the entire team. Really wasn't a big, weren't any questions on the team other than maybe some chemistry because Aaron Rodgers had missed a good chunk of the offseason. But it's Aaron Rodgers. Now, the one thing that both teams had to deal with was a change in venue where they moved that to Jacksonville. It's a hot game. Usually hotter games kind of help the offense more so than the defense. So you would think the Packers, would have a good game as far as like throwing the ball. It just wasn't the case. Now, if you watch that game, there were some times where it looked like the Packers were maybe onto something. They had kind of gotten something going on the offensive side of the ball. And then Aaron Rodgers threw a pick or somebody fell down or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, as far as the pick, it was just wrong. One thing that does kind of stand out to me on this one is that in my scheduling video and then on scheduling spreadsheet that I have that I look at every week, I had the Saints losing one of these first two games, and specifically if they won the first game, I was going to bet against them in the second game. They are playing the Panthers in week 2, and the current line is Saints -3. I'm not touching that game. That's one of the ones that I had, like I said, highlighted. I was looking at it. I was going to be monitoring that line to see what I could get for week 2. After seeing this, unless there's a big line move, I'm not touching that. And I'll get into kind of the breakdown of that as we get further along. So those are the only 3 that we got wrong so far. And hopefully that is the only 3 wrong that we get all week. There is still one pending tonight. The game pending, the line pending for tonight, or the play pending for tonight, was the Ravens -4.5 at the Raiders. This is a spot where I could see it going either way because we have the Ravens with a lot of injuries all over the place, from their secondary to their running backs. Just, all over the field. They have something that is hurt, banged up, or whatever. And because of that, we have a lot of people either fading the Ravens or just completely staying away from this game. And so when we took it, it was back at Ravens -4.5. As of right now, it's down to Ravens -4. And they are playing as the away team. They're going to play in Las Vegas against the Raiders. Anytime that I see the general public fading the team, it makes me feel better that I am on that side. So that's really the one thing I got going for me, and that's what's kind of keeping my hopes up, is that the Ravens are still the Ravens. It's still week 1. John Harbaugh still has his amazing record intact for week 1 wins. And other coaches, like Andy Reid, week 1 wins, that still seem to play out. It doesn't matter who you put on the field or what the start of the game is. The Chiefs still overcame the deficit they were in at the halftime against a good team in the Browns and were able to pull out the win. I'm hoping that the Ravens can do something similar under John Harbaugh and he can get this team ready to play. And that the running backs he has put on this team, whether practice squad or active roster, are able to come in and fill in the needs that J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are leaving behind. Not to say that they were these like elite tier 1 kind of guys, but they were definitely more than just a guy. So we'll see how that goes, but that's the one pending for tonight. Now, in that same game, we have our round robin. The round robin is still pending, and this is these are a little bit hard to hit. They're a little bit tricky. I had picked a 4 out of 6 robin, and as of right now, we have 3 plays that won, 2 plays that lost. So this Ravens-Raiders game is the final leg here, which is going to decide if we win or lose. We had the under 51.5 for this game. With all of the injuries, the line has come down, so it is now under 50 is the line. 51 is a key number when it comes to totals. So the fact that the books crossed 51 down to 50 tells me that there was some major money coming in on the under, because it didn't just go down to 51 and stay there, and it didn't just go to 51 and then recently get to 50.5. This thing went all the way down to 50. So there's a lot of people who agreed with me on this one in saying that it's going to be under 51.5. If that were to hit, back when we played this robin, it was for 1/10 of a unit, which for this particular round robin the total cost ends up coming out at 0.6 units. If we were to win tonight's game, then we were looking at winning 1.2 units. So it'd be about a half a unit up if we win that game. The good thing is, because we already have the other 3 legs checked in and it's coming down to this one, I was able to take the over at a tenth of a unit as well, and the over 50. And so whether we win this game or not, we're going to at least be able to take some of the cost off of that round robin. So it goes down from 6/10 of a unit to only a half a unit loss if we lose that one. And if we win that one, then we win about a half a unit. So either way, where it's not going to be too big of a swing for the week, but obviously we're hoping for the win. And realistically, I'm hoping for the middle. Hopefully this game lands on exactly 51, and we can win both sides of our bet. And at that point, then we're going to win at about 0.7 units, which is really pretty good for a week 1 round robin. Obviously, we were hoping for much more, but I'll take what I can get. Next, let's go ahead and look at what we did win for the week. So the straight games that we won, 49ers -7 at the Lions. 49ers had this game the entire game, like from kickoff. They were almost up 7 points. So what got scary in this game, though, is that they were up, I want to say, by like 20 points or something like that at halftime. Something ridiculous, where they were already taking their foot off the gas. The coaching staff and the players were already thinking, hey, this game's in the bag. We're just going to kind of, do some clock management here and get the hell out of here, which is fine. The problem was the Lions were not in that mindset yet. They did not get that memo. They kept trying, they kept scoring, and eventually it gets down to an 8-point game, or what could be a 1-score game. And we have Jared Goff coming down the field, actually hitting passes, trying to get in this end zone and maybe push this thing to overtime. And if you're laying any money on this game, that's kind of a scary thought, especially when you thought this was in the bag. This is one that was, this was one for you already. This is a time when you want to, and you are very happy that you have your money on the better quarterback. It's a very scary thought to have your money on Jared Goff. And so I'm very happy to be on the other side of that. That being said, Jared Goff remembered halfway through this drive that he's Jared Goff. The 49ers defense finally woke up again. They got their foot back on the pedal and were able to shut them down, not let them get back in the end zone. And really, they didn't do too much. I mean, they were playing, fine defense, but Jared Goff was just not even coming close to his targets those last 4 plays. So either way, we get the win there. But like I said, the note from that is that one of the worst things that can happen to you when you're betting a team that is much better than the other team is exactly what happened in this 49ers game. They get out to a big lead. They take their foot off the gas. The other team starts trying to rally, and it might take the whole game, but they're going to try to backdoor this thing. Whether they win or lose or not, it's really just they're just trying to mess you up at that point. That's how it feels. It feels like they are personally trying to ruin your bet, and that really pisses me off. But that being said, again, it happens. But we got the win. 49ers get the cover on that one. Next is the Broncos at the Giants. Broncos at the Giants here, same kind of story. Broncos really had this one in control the whole game. It didn't get crazy. Didn't get, this big 40-point lead or anything like that. But the Broncos were just in the lead the entire game. Defense played solid. Giants really couldn't do much of anything. Our under 42 looked pretty secure within like the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. The Broncos defense were able to hold and get this one down. Now, this was one of the ones that also made its way over to our Robin. So we hit on the 1 unit here, but we also won on the round Robin. So that works for us. The next thing that we hit was the Panthers -4.5 at the Jets. Now, this is another one that got kind of scary towards the end. But the Panthers were up 11, and they realistically should have been up more. Sam Darnold did have a fumble, believe in the red zone, that just obviously they ended up winning, so it didn't kill them, but they could have had a much more comfortable win, and because of that, they had to kind of squeak this one out. They were up by 11. They let the Jets come back down at fourth quarter, but it wasn't like last minute. It was still some time in the game. They came back down. They scored the touchdown, and I knew it was going to come down to this. They were going to try for the 2 to get it within a field goal game. And even as they were on the drive, I was just thinking in my head, like, man, they're going to score, and then my bet is going to come down to this 2-point conversion. And, of course, it's exactly what happened. Luckily for us, again, you want your money on the better team, the better quarterback. And in this case, Zach Wilson, with his rookie start, was the guy that you did not want to have money on. And so exactly it worked out for us. They did not convert the 2 points, and they end up losing by 5. So the Panthers get the cover. So we got that one as well. And then the last one, and this is one that I had given out way back in the summer, way back when the lines were totally flipped. I was holding on to Seahawks +3. You could have taken it at ending time, even up to kickoff, and it was Seahawks -3. And it wouldn't have mattered because they just won this game handily. It wasn't even close. On the scoreboard, I believe they won by like 12 points or something like that. Anyways, I think it was 12. It wasn't even that close. The Seahawks were just demolishing this team from start to finish. And the Colts couldn't really do much to get back in this game. So whether you had the minus or the plus, they get the win. I don't know why the Seahawks were ever underdogs in this game. When the lines first opened, they were dogs by 3. I have no idea why that was. I thought about it. Thought it was like a fishy line, a trap line. There's no reason for them to be dogs, and they just proved that with the win here in week 1. So we got those 5 games in the bag. So we ended up at 5-3. Hopefully after tonight we'll be 6-3. And the Robin I have not counted because I don't really know if you want to count that in the total wins or not, because this is more of just kind of like a play here to try and pay for the week or pay for the couple weeks. But that could also hit tonight. I'm not going to count it if it does hit. But hopefully we'll end up at 6-3 for the week. As of right now, we're at 5-3, and we are up 5.25 units for the season. As far as sides and totals, this is another thing you want to be self-evaluating all the time. If you are really, really good at picking sides or you're really good at picking totals, you kind of want to stay in that lane. And if you're really bad at one, you want to stay away from that and kind of put your focus on the other. So as far as sides are concerned, we're sitting at 5-2 right now, and that is 71% win rate. Totals, we are at 2-1, 66% win rate. So both winning propositions for us at this point, but sides look to be just a little bit better at this time. So that's what we had from week 1. Now let's look ahead, see what we have for week 2. We already went over tonight's game, what we have kind of pending for that one. Week 2, though. So the games that I have already played or put action on, I think are very, very strong. And the lines opened almost exactly where we want them to be. So as far as the Patriots, we have Patriots -3.5 at the Jets. Now, based off of the results from last week, you might not like this one too much. Keep in mind, obviously, the Jets lost big to the Texans. I'm sorry, the Jets lost at the end of the game to the Panthers, but it was not a blowout. Patriots lost to the Dolphins, and like I said earlier, that game could have gone really either way. It came down to the last couple minutes there, and so this is also a divisional rivalry. So you might not like laying the extra hook. But let's take a look at some reasons that I do like the Patriots here. So first I want to go over these injuries. So these are the injuries for the Jets. So we have Jamin Sherwood injured, and he was their linebacker, their middle linebacker, as it were. And they also have Draw Davis on the IR. Now, Davis was on the IR since preseason or before week 1. Jamin Sherwood got injured in this last outing. So effectively, as of right now, they're down to their third stringer when it comes to linebackers, or this is a Mike linebacker. Obviously, a very important position because this is like the quarterback of the defense, and you're down to your third string guy. That's going to create some issues, and one of the biggest issues with that, as far as when you're playing against the Patriots, is obviously number one, you're playing against Bill Belichick, so he's going to do some stuff to kind of throw off your defense, and the guy that you have there that should be evaluating the offense and kind of dictating where certain players should be at and making adjustments on that defensive side of the ball is not there. That definitely makes it harder, and I will tell you, as just somebody who's watched football long enough, the Mike linebacker is one of the positions that will have the biggest difference in outcomes as far as the defense is concerned. It's very, very hard to account for that guy. And to put someone in there that does not have the experience of evaluating an offense and then telling his teammates where to go, what to do, kind of where to line up, it's hard to quantify that, but I will tell you it is a big difference. Next, so we have LaMarcus Joyner, who is also injured. LaMarcus Joyner is the safety for the Jets, and the Patriots don't pass very frequently. They are pretty run heavy, at least that's how they were last week and last year for that matter. But it's still going to have an impact here as far as stopping the run, because that's usually the guy that you're going to bring down here to try and stuff the box and stop the run and all that kind of stuff, and you have his backup playing. But then if they do decide that they want to try out that secondary, knowing that Joyner's not back there, obviously that's going to make a difference as well. And Mac Jones has proven to be very competent. I do believe he's going to be able to find some people open, and he's going to be able to make those throws. He's going to be able to read the defenses. And so for those reasons, that's going to play a role in this game. Now, lastly, and this is the one that I really think is the most important, is Makai Bechten. He's the left tackle for the Jets. That Patriots line and the Patriots defense in general just looked amazing. And if you didn't watch the game, obviously all you know is that they lost, and they could have possibly won had Damian Harris not fumbled in the red zone. But I will tell you that defense from the Patriots looked really, really good. And mind you, they were playing the Dolphins without Will Fuller, but Tua looked really good all preseason. He looked good in this game too. But the Patriots were able to stuff a lot of their game plan and to kind of keep everything in check and stay within, kind of range or sniping distance with this game. And the defense was just, while it wasn't lights out, obviously, and there's always stuff that you can be corrected and fixed, they're back to being really good. The defense is back to really being an issue, and the defensive line specifically is a point of strength for the Patriots. The Jets just could not get anything going, and without their left tackle, who was really one of, if not their best lineman, Zach Wilson's just going to have a long day back there. He's going to be in for a fight. He's going to be running around the entire game. Aside from him being, just kind of in danger the whole game, he's also a rookie. And Bill Belichick has an amazing record against rookies. He just basically doesn't lose to these guys. That's hyperbole. He has lost before to Tua last year, actually got him. But Zach Wilson is not Tua. Zach Wilson did not look to be a great runner last week, and I don't think anybody's really worried about him, his legs kind of killing them. I don't see how the Jets keep this one close, to be honest with you. The line is going to be a problem. The Patriots defense is going to be in their backfield almost every play, eating their lunch. They're not going to be able to run effectively. At least they shouldn't be. Zach is not going to have a lot of time to find people open. And if he does what I'm thinking he's going to do, which is he's going to try and find Corey Davis on each and every play like he has been in the preseason and then even last week, he's going to turn the ball over. I'm telling you right now. Bill Belichick, as everybody knows, is great at taking away your number one option. And everybody knows, if I know that Corey Davis is his number one option and that's his favorite target, you better believe that the Patriots and Bill Belichick know exactly where he's going with that ball, and they're going to put some looks in there. They're going to put some disguises in there, not just to stop those passes, but to intercept those passes and build this huge lead. And so they're going to rely on this defense to just take the Jets out of their game plan and just destroy these guys. So the Jets, good luck to you. I'll say a prayer for you. Hopefully nobody gets hurt. But the Patriots should be able to win this game with defense alone. Aside from that, though, let's look at the Patriots offense. Really not a lot of injuries, if any, to report on this one. But the Patriots using Damian Harris a whole hell of a lot in that first game. That's probably going to be the same in week 2. I do think the Jets have a good run-stopping defense, so they might be able to kind of slow him down a little bit. But when you have guys like Mac Jones, who, yes, he's a rookie, but he's able to just make the throws that he needs to make. And he's really making some good decisions that are impressive for a rookie, as far as like not throwing picks and being able to throw the ball away when he needs to. He's not making these dumb rookie mistakes that we would expect most rookies to make. That's going to allow them to really win this game and just kind of play it safe. So whether they're going to run the ball a lot or they're going to do a lot of short little passing routes, either way, that's fine. I do think that with the linebacker issues that the Jets are going to have, like I said, with Jarrad Davis and Jamin Sherwood being out, I think this is a perfect game to utilize those 2 tight end sets. Not only do you have 2 tight ends that are just matchup problems for anybody, but now you have 2 tight ends that are going against backup linebackers. I have no idea how they're going to account for that is the Jets, how the Jets are going to try and game plan for these tight ends. You're short at linebacker already. You're probably going to have to move one of your outside linebackers to middle linebacker, which means that you're going to put a backup in your outside linebacker spot, and you're going to ask the backup to stay with Jonnu Smith or to stay with Hunter Henry. I don't see it happening. It's just a really bad matchup all across the board, guys. The Patriots should smash, if I'm just talking to you from my mind and from what I saw in my eyeballs. As far as the algorithms are concerned, my personal algorithm, which again focuses on the coaching staff, has the Patriots winning this one 24-17. The Madden algorithm has this being much closer. It has the Patriots as just 1-point favorites, or let's round it up to 1.5. The current spread is 3.5. Now, I will tell you, I have seen this thing get up to 5 already. So there's some books that have 3.5. There's some books that have 5. I was lucky enough to grab it at the 3.5, but grab it now. You're going to want to get that line now. I'm promising you, it is going up. It's going to go up and up and up, and then when we get to Saturday, it's going up some more. So by the time this gets to kickoff, you're probably looking at Patriots -6. It went from 3.5 to 5 overnight. So grab that line, guys. Grab it. That's my favorite play. That's my, quote-unquote best bet for the week. Next is the Broncos at the Jags. That's under 44.5. The Broncos at the Jags. This one is, handicapping-wise, projects to be a pretty close game. Madden actually has the Jaguars as 3-point favorites in this one. I don't really agree with that, but the reason for that is that they have Trevor Lawrence rated as a 78 and Bridgewater as a 73. And obviously the Jaguars have home field advantage. Trevor Lawrence, I'm not saying he's not a 78, but if he's a 78, I don't think Bridgewater's a 73. So Madden has some issues with the algorithm in that respect as far as just my eyeballs are concerned. This is also, right now I have Bradley Chubb listed as out. Now he might play, he is questionable, but they have him listed as out. Now they also lost Jerry Jeudy, they being the Broncos. And that's going to be a problem because they were already short or very shallow wide receiver. I believe they have 5 on the active roster. Now they're down 1. And Cortland Sutton is their best guy, but after that, there's a pretty significant fall off. So their offense is going to be pretty run heavy. And even if they didn't want to be before, which they probably did, they're going to have to be due to just their depth chart. So for those reasons, I personally think that the Broncos are going to win this game, but I think that it's going to be a low-scoring game. And so even if the Jaguars can't put up any points, which I don't think they will, because the Broncos' defense is very, very damn good and was able to stop the Giants, I do think they'll get something going, whether it's on the fourth quarter or whatever. Maybe it's just kind of like a last-second drive. But with the line at Broncos -6.5, it just concerns me, honestly. What really concerns me is the back door. I can see the Jaguars being down like 20-7 or something and still going for it, trying to get the touchdown in the fourth quarter, and the game ending like 20-14, and you didn't cover because of that hook. So for those reasons, I'm just going to play the under, but I really, really like the under because both of my projections have this game being like a 20-14, 20-17 kind of game. On the higher end, it still comes in at like a 24-17 kind of game, which would give us 41, and the under's at 44.5. Keep in mind, 44 is a total key number, or is a key number for totals. So at 44.5, we're good. At 44, we're still good. If it gets below 44, we've lost a pretty significant amount of value. So you want to grab that right now. I don't think it should really dip below 44, but like I said, nonetheless, I want to grab it sooner than later. Usually lines will go up throughout the week, meaning that it should theoretically get up to like 45, 45.5, something like that. But the next key number going up is not until 47, and I don't see it getting steamed up that much, where there is a significant chance of some syndicates seeing this and putting a large amount of money on the under and dropping it below the key number, which is why I want to grab it now, not later. So that's the second play. Lastly, though, as far as plays that are already in the books for me, is the Texans at the Browns and the Falcons at the Bucs, and I am teasing both of these games. So the Browns are playing the Texans. The Browns should dominate. I mean, this should not really be close, and the current line is 12 points, and it actually needs to get fixed here, so it's at minus 12. The opener back in the summer had this game at minus 13.5. The Texans' defense is the reason for that. The Texans' defense is better than a lot of people expected, and yes, they did trade away Robbie Anderson, but he was just a piece of this defense. The 12 has a lot of questions to it. So one, obviously the Texans' defense is good. Are they going to be able to slow down this Browns offense at all? Probably not. But could they maybe backdoor 12? It's possible. You know, if they're down 17, 18, 20 points in that fourth quarter and the Browns let them have, a touchdown or whatever, do you really want to be in that position where you're like, damn, I can't have them score anything in the fourth quarter even though the Browns are up 20? Not really. So that, again, what concerns me here is more the back door. So that's why I'm teasing it. As far as the projection here, Madden had this line at about 7.5. I do think that's probably a little low. I really think that my projection, which is at 13 points, was probably a little bit closer, especially since the line actually opened up at 13. So between the 7 and the 13, let's call it 10 is what both of these algorithms are going to average out to. So the Browns minus 10 is the line that I'd really be looking for if I was trying to play it just straight up. But since I can't get that, I'm going to tease it. And the tease is going to take us through some key numbers. So it's going to take us through 10. It's going to take us through 7 and part of the 6. So it's going to give us the key numbers and give us a better line and kind of take away a lot of that worry about the back door. The Bucs is the second half of that. Now the Bucs is not a team. They're not a team that I have put on my watch list, but they are a team that I watched obviously last week against the Cowboys, and a team that I have a lot of faith in. Obviously, again, going back to that, I want the good quarterback as far as my money is concerned. And they're playing the Falcons, and the Falcons really struggled against the Eagles, and the Eagles looked really good against that Falcons defense. Some things that concern me there is that, one, the Eagles defense is not that good. I mean, at least on paper, they're not impressive. There's nothing that really sticks out to you about that defense. Now, their offense, could be good to great, depending on what you think of Jalen Hurts. So if you think that Jalen Hurts is, this great quarterback who's going to take an amazing second-year step and all that kind of stuff, then great. Then their offense is going to be good. They really haven't lost a lot of pieces since that Super Bowl run. They still have a good offensive line. They added Devonta Smith. Jalen Reagor is playing the spot that is well suited for him now in the slot. So lots of good things to say about their offense. And the fact that the Falcons couldn't slow them down, who they don't really have a good defense either, is not really a problem. The Eagles, they are what we thought they are as far as offense is concerned. If you're not going to stop them and your defense isn't up to par, they're probably going to score some points. That's just the way it goes. Especially since the Falcons and Arthur Smith didn't really make any attempt to get into Jalen Hurts' head here. They didn't do anything really that impressed me as far as their defense is concerned. Now, the Falcons' offense was projected to be pretty good, and they actually started off their first drive pretty good, but they couldn't get into the red zone. And then the second drive that came out, they were still pretty good, moving the ball, kind of going all over the place, passing for the most part pretty effectively and efficiently. But again, they get to the red zone and they just couldn't do anything. And I don't think that was the Eagles' defense really shutting them down. I don't think the Eagles did anything really there to impress me either. It was more so just bad play calling and bad red zone play calling especially. So the Falcons not being able to score against the Eagles, if anything, strengthens my conviction that they're not going to be able to score against the Bucs. While the Bucs did give up a whole lot to the Cowboys last week, and they also had an injury, they were not deep at cornerback, but they do have another cornerback besides, is Button Murphy was his name, right behind him on the depth chart. That's not a significant step back, at least as far as algorithms are concerned. And so I don't think that they're going to really have an issue on defense. Obviously, their defensive line is better, and they should be able to really get after Matt Ryan and stop any sort of red zone running attempts. So if the Falcons are going to score in this second game, which hopefully they will actually finally score a touchdown, it's probably going to have to go to Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley is going to have to be able to win off the line. There's just not a whole lot else that they can do right now. So having the Bucs from 12.5, teasing them down to 6.5. Again, same thing here. We're going to get the 10. We're going to get the 7. Unfortunately, on this one, we don't get the 6, but you can if you want to tease it, a 6.5 point teaser. But it's just laying a little bit too much juice for me to get to the 6.5 point teaser. The 6 is fine, and I really think that the Bucs should win this game pretty handily. I don't think that this is going to be an issue either. If you leave it at the 12.5, my concern is kind of the same thing I had for the Browns, is that the Falcons can score, and if the Bucs take their foot off the gas, they can, get got basically, and let the Falcons get a late second score to just make it look closer on the scoreboard and kind of mess up your bet there. So teasing those two teams down. One thing I do want to say, Brady seemed pretty pissed about his turnovers last week. So not that they were his fault. One of them was a tipped ball that Fournette just couldn't haul in. And the second one was like a Hail Mary at the end of the second half. So not really his fault. But I do expect him to come out with guns blazing and ready to pick apart this Falcons defense. So really a game I want to watch, but secondly, I want to get involved in betting wise. Some games that we are looking at and maybe want to play. So the Chiefs at the Ravens. Prior to this week, it was actually a pick'em, and then the Ravens had some injuries and things like that. So the Ravens are probably going to come out as dogs regardless of what happens tonight, especially since the Chiefs were able to win their game against the Browns. Now, luckily for us, they didn't beat the Browns like 70-0 or anything, so there shouldn't be too much impact or juicing up from that perspective. But depending on what the Ravens do tonight, I expect this game to be like Chiefs -3, somewhere around there. Prior to all this stuff happening back in the offseason, I was hoping that we would be able to get the Chiefs +1 or +1.5, knowing that probably wasn't going to happen. And now, especially with all the injuries, definitely not going to happen. But I do think the Ravens have a good chance of running the ball pretty effectively against the Chiefs, just like Nick Chubb did. Not because their running backs are as good. Like, don't get me wrong, Nick Chubb is pretty elite, but their line is very, very good, and the Chiefs are really not concerned with stopping the run. So I think if you have like Tyson Williams or anybody like that playing back there, he's going to get some points, or some fantasy points, that is, and it's probably going to be able to move the ball. So we'll see what that line comes out with, but if it's like Chiefs -3 or less, I'm taking the Chiefs all day, especially because they have the rest advantage with the Ravens playing on a Monday night, and then they'll turn around and play Sunday. I believe this is the noon game. So either way, I'm taking the Chiefs in that one. Rams -4 at the Colts. Right now it's Rams -4.5. That one's, it's kind of, that's a funny line for me. I actually have it handicapped. So my personal like coaching perspective here had the Rams as 3-point favorites. The Madden algorithm has them at less than a half a point, like almost a pick 'em basically. And the current line is -4.5, so I'm updating a lot of these. I was expecting -3.5. I do think the Rams win this game, and I do think should be a pretty easy win for them, being that the Colts really were not able to do much. What concerns me, though, is that one of the strengths of the Rams is that their defense can shut down not just a receiver, but two receivers with their corners, and the Colts just don't really look to pass at all. I mean, it's great that you have lockdown corners, but if the other team isn't going to look to pass, they're not really going to do you much help. The Colts are probably going to look to run this ball, and while, yes, Aaron Donald is a beast and he can take up 2 gaps on his own, that defensive line is not as strong as their corners would be. As far as their defensive line is concerned, I mean, if you look just across their line, obviously Aaron Donald is this 99 right here. But the other end, we have a 72, 183, and a 69. So there's points in that line where they can get got. And I do think that the Colts will score at some point on this team. I do think that the Rams, conversely, obviously I think that they're going to win, but the Colts do have a decent defense, and they could make it a little bit more difficult. Now, the Rams were able to put up a really big night against the Bears last night. So I do think they can put up points. And, I mean, obviously, this Rams offense is amazing. Matt Stafford looked great. Sean McVay is back to being the Sean McVay we all know and love. And a little tip for you guys, and I don't have a play on it this week, but just a tip. Sean McVay is actually really, really good at scripting first quarter opening drives. The problem that we've had in the past, and the reason it wasn't a good play like last year, was that they would move the ball, and then get into scoring range, and then inevitably, Goff would mess it up. He would take a bad sack, he'd throw a pick, they'd get a flag, delay a game, whatever. It just seemed like they were moving, and something would set them back, and it was almost every time. It was almost Goff every single time. So now that he's gone, look to play these first quarters with the Rams. Like the Rams, especially when it's a bigger line, if it's like Rams minus 10 or something like that, that first quarter will be like Rams minus a half a point or Rams over 7 or something like that, or somewhere around those lines. So those are really, really good, and I was very encouraged by what I saw last night. Just keep an eye on it, because this one, again, is another tougher matchup, playing against the Colts. With the Colts defense being pretty good, I don't necessarily want to lay the 4 points. It's still under consideration for me. I want to go back. I'm going to rewatch that Colts game. Like I said, the Seahawks pretty much handled them from start to finish, but I want to watch their defense more specifically and see if I think there's some weaknesses that Sean McVay is going to pick up on, which he's obviously going to see more than I will, and what he may be thinking as far as the game plan is concerned. I think that the Rams will win this one. Now it's just a matter of if they're going to cover that line or not. I'm going to try and go through the rest of these pretty quick, guys. I know it's already been a pretty long video. So Saints at Panthers. The Saints actually they did win, obviously, last night, and they won the Week 1 matchup last year against the Buccaneers. But they're usually pretty bad to start the season, and so what happens is they win the first game and they lose the second game, or vice versa. This one, they're going to be playing at the Panthers, so it is a more traditional away game for them. And the Panthers are +3 right now as a home dog, that is. I really am looking to take the Panthers in this game. What concerns me is that I don't know enough about the Saints' offense. They looked great against the Packers, but some of that I got to imagine was because the Packers didn't really know how to game plan for Jameis Winston. They didn't have any film on him. They didn't know how Sean Payton was going to use him. And the Panthers have, some tape on him now, but it's not very much. The Panthers' defense was not very good. They were not able to really stop the Jets like they should have been. And the Panthers' offense, conversely, was also just kind of like average. And so in this game, it's probably going to be a stay away for me unless I find a reason or something to take the Panthers. I'm probably just going to be staying away from this one. The Cowboys +2.5 at the Chargers. I'm looking for a Cowboys +3 in this one. I'll tell you right now. I do want to go back and watch this game to see kind of how everything played out here. It seemed like the Chargers pretty much owned Washington from start to finish. They kept them out of the end zone in the first quarter by stopping 2 red zone attempts and making them settle for field goals. I don't think that's going to happen, or at least it should not happen as easily with the Cowboys. I think the Chargers really benefited from Washington being so conservative, Washington wanting to run a lot with Gibson, and then later on in the game, obviously, Washington losing Ryan Fitzpatrick. It all led to the Chargers just being able to control this game and doing what they wanted. Now, the Cowboys, I will say, offensively, much better than Washington, and if they play the way that they played last week, they should be able to move the ball, and they're going to be more aggressive than Washington was. What concerns me, though, is that we have the Cowboys who are going to be missing La'el Collins. They hopefully will get Zach Martin back, so that's kind of a wash. And if they can play this up-tempo, quick passing game, they should be okay. But Michael Gallup is also out, so they're going to put in most likely Cedric Wilson in that third receiving spot. And so it's going to come down to matchups. And the Chargers, they do have Derwin James, and I think he'll be able to take down at least half of that field. But the Cowboys just have weapons all over the place. This is a game that looks to be pretty prime for guys like Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz to kind of get behind that defensive line and be able to get some easy targets for Dak. But on the other side of the ball, the Chargers ran very effectively. If you didn't watch that game, I mean, it looked like every run was 4, 5, 6 yards, and the guys were just falling forward every time. And that's against a pretty good defensive line in Washington. The Cowboys' defensive line is not as good as Washington's defensive line. And I see that being an issue. I see that the Chargers are going to run over this team, and they're going to probably find Austin Eckler and some other outlet passes to make it a little bit of a tougher game for the Cowboys' defense. But the Chargers also didn't really go down the field a whole lot. Yes, they hit some passes like Keenan Allen, but they just weren't really playing too aggressively down the field. And I think in a game against the Cowboys where there could be a lot of points, that's something that they have to prepare for more. They're going to have to be more willing to take deeper shots down the field. I do think that the Chargers win this game. My projection is having them win by a point. The Madden algorithm also has them winning. It has the Chargers as a half-point favorite or the Cowboys as a half-point dog. So either way, it's about a point. The one thing I will say, though, that the Cowboys have kind of working in their favor is that they have a rest advantage. So the Cowboys played Thursday. The Chargers obviously just played yesterday. Now, the Cowboys get those extra couple days of rest, but they do have to travel to Los Angeles because they're going to be playing in SoFi. So they are away, but they have more of a rest advantage. So that's sort of kind of a wash. It's not taken into any of these algorithms. It's kind of hard to put rest advantage as a numerical value. But I could see the Cowboys upsetting the Chargers. I do think this is a game where this game could go either way. And if I can get the field goal, I would like to get the field goal because the Cowboys could win or at least keep this game close if the Chargers are going to play as conservatively as they did last week. Even if they get like a 10-point lead, if they're going to just kind of sit on it and give the Cowboys a chance to come back and score that touchdown and backdoor it, I like that as well too. But again, I would need to get it to +3, and even at that, I'd be kind of conservative with your unit size on that one. 49ers at the Eagles. 49ers, this is a game where I think the 49ers could win, but again, where it could obviously go either way. Madden has them as about half-point favorites. My prediction has the Eagles winning by a point. And this, again, is going to come down to what you think of Jalen Hurts. If you think Hurts is going to make that step, take that step forward in his second year, then the Eagles are probably your play. If you don't, then the 49ers are probably your play. But at the end of the day, I really think this is probably more of a stay away for me. The 49ers, in my head, should win this game pretty handily. Not because the Eagles are a bad team, but because their defense is not as good as what we saw against the Falcons. And if the 49ers can get out and just start running this ball all over them, not only will they build a lead, but they'll also milk the clock, making it pretty hard for the Eagles to come back. And if that defensive line from the 49ers can get after Jalen Hurts, he's going to have a tough day as well. I know he can run, and I know he can get out of the pocket, but if he's constantly having to kind of throw off balance or throw with guys in his face, it's going to be a hard day for him. The 49ers, though, do not have Verrett for probably the rest of this year, so they're going to have to make some adjustments. But without him, guys like Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor can win those lineup matchups and make easy, quick passes for Jalen Hurts. So, again, this is probably going to be a stay away for me. You could argue either way on this one. It's really more of a line that I'm looking for. I'm going to try to play the number, not the team, as you've probably heard before in this one. But as of right now, it sits at 3, key number. I'm not really touching it either way right now. We'll see where that line gets by the end of the week. Last two here is Raiders at the Steelers. There's no line on this one yet because the Raiders have not played yet. But I would look to take the Steelers at -5.5 or better, obviously, if I can get that. especially if there's any injuries on the Raiders side of the ball. Lastly, the Lions and Packers. I would love to see Packers -7. Right now, I believe it's like -10. The Packers are another one that's just kind of a mystery at this point. I have no idea what they're going to give us. They didn't really look good last week, but the Lions also look terrible with kind of just a last half or last quarter of a comeback where the 49ers weren't really trying to stop anybody anyway. So I don't know enough about either of those teams. They didn't really show us anything the first week. I'm probably looking to stay away unless we can get down to the Packers -7, but it's the Lions. I don't see anybody running to the window to bet that, and not enough money coming in to get us to the line that we want. So, recap here. The 3 plays that are already in: Patriots -3.5 at the Jets, Broncos at Jags under 44.5. Then we're teasing the Browns down to 6 from the Texans, and the Bucs down to 6.5 against the Falcons. Lines we are looking for is going to be the Chiefs, really at -3 or better at the Ravens. We have the Rams -4 at the Colts, possibly, and the Cowboys at +3 at the Chargers. Again, possibly if we can get there, but I do like the 3 plays that we have in the book right now. Thanks again, guys. There will be more updates as we get through the week. Thanks again. Thank you for support. Love all the info we're getting, guys, in the comments. Hopefully we hear some more soon. You guys have a great day.